Café cubano.
Café cubano, con el boricua, con el cubano, ya tú sabes.
Gracias, bro.
No, gracias por venir, chico. Otra vez, good to have you, Osvaldo. Yeah, baby.
Third time?
Third time. I really want to have people on more frequently because, you know, the first time's like kind of like, who the fuck is this person? The second time's like, oh, shit. You know, then the third time's like, oh, he's back. All right, cool.
He's for real?
He's for real. It's legit. He's still doing
He
it.
ain't going anywhere. Yeah.
And it's been a while in time, and it's been a while in how much shit
In
has
happenings,
gone. Different
yes.
president when you first came on.
Yes,
You
correct.
know, now new president coming in, the fires, you know. Were you on last year the first time? No, I think it was 23, right?
Oh, I want to say it was last year.
Both times?
It was...
I think it was before because Claudia was
early
running.
2024?
No,
Oh,
Claudia was running.
23.
I think the
Yes.
first time it was 24, and then I think you came
you're
back
right.
in April or something.
You're right. Oh, yeah. You had Claudia here.
That's how I met you, right?
Yeah,
It was through
I'm
Claudia.
So mad that,
She didn't
didn't make it, yeah.
Yeah, I got to get her back on and get an update.
Good people. Great people. You know, great ideas. People who are not in the matrix. You know, I can see things for what they are. So
Yeah.
we'll get good people in
Yeah.
the office at some point.
What do you think of these fires, and do you think this is enough to get people switched out? And I know this is not even part of the conversation; it's just today's news that you know what's happening. I think you know people are looking at Karen Bass, people are looking at Newscom.
Yeah. Governor Hergel.
You think it's happening? You think it's gonna?
Yes.
You think they're gonna resign? You think they're gonna step out? Did you hear about this LA 2.0 thing?
Smart City.
Smart City LA
Yep.
2.0.
Yep. That because that's part of what happened to Lahaina too, in Maui. Yeah. I think it's gonna be enough because it has to get bad enough, basically, for people to finally come to realize, wait, what's going on? Like, wait, my taxes are paying for what? Well, supposed to be paying for what? And what am I getting in return? Like, what we get from, you know, government and our elected officials in reality, in the real world, versus what it is that they, you know, promised during campaign season and blah, blah, blah. Like Karen Bass, good example. She promised during campaign, I will never travel outside the United States.
She said that.
Yep. And she's like to like the sixth trip outside of the United States, like this very last one. Yeah, during the fires, she was in Ghana, doing what? What the heck? You as the LA mayor have to go do in Ghana?
Right.
What kind of return on investment are your citizens of LA getting out of you getting a nice plush trip to Ghana because of they have a new president? Come on now. So,
Makes no sense, yeah.
yeah. So I think that's where people are going to start realizing, okay, so I'm paying this much in property taxes, this much in all these other taxes. How much are these people getting paid for to do X, Y, Z, supposedly? What kind of return on investment am I getting as a citizen?
Not only that, but I'm paying for insurance. Insurance is going up.
Correct.
Didn't it go up like 75% or something?
Not only up, but you can't get insurance and fire insurance anymore in some of these cities because of, you know, insurance companies go by actuarials, right? And risk assessments and all that. And they can see where the shortfalls of the government are. The forestry around the city is not being managed. They run AI aided drones over all these areas. They can see how many dead trees, how much dead, you know, fall is around there. Okay. Next, you know, they haven't had a fire in this area in X amount of years. Okay. You know what? What's the average value of each home here in this area? We got to pull out.
Well, not only that, they look at the electrical and the water reserves and the transportation. You know, people think that the insurance. again, I don't know, because there's the whole thing that, insurance companies, well, they're in it. And this is why they pulled out. It's like, I don't think that happened. I think they did an assessment and they realized that the city and the county are not doing their part, and they saw it's high risk, and therefore we're not fucking covering you guys.
Yep.
So nobody can blame anybody except for the city officials and the people who vote, where your money goes. Yeah. So everybody, and then you see the whole Smart LA 2.0. Then you see the whole bullet train route, like all those areas are being burnt, which is fucking insane. Then you got, what are they called, land grabs?
Yes.
There's a bunch of stuff. Then you see the arsonist, and then the theft, which is something we'll talk about with protecting yourself, but you have that whole thing. Yeah. And then did you see the one, again, you just don't know what to trust, but did you see the one where they had an infrared satellite view of a laser just igniting shit, from like one of the...
I've seen that in the past, yeah. I don't know what to make of that, but that's what people call directed energy weapons. Those are a thing, and there are many varieties of those.
Yeah, because there was a satellite image of infrared where you could see the LA fires. You could see the fires of the state.
They all started kind of around the same time.
You just see this one line during a recording where it's just like, and I was like, what's that? Like, what makes a perfect straight line?
Right.
Obviously there's an agenda. Obviously this wasn't nature.
You can, to somebody, you need to have some sort of degree of being able to connect dots. You have seen for many, many years the whole plans and the propaganda of you will own nothing and you'll be happy.
Yeah.
You can see all these, things falling into place, and that those plans are on set timelines. It used to be Agenda 2021. And now it's Agenda 2030, where these are actual documents that globalists have stating goals by X year. This is what's going to happen in order to have a sustainable globe. And if you are awake, you see it. If you are still in the matrix, what some people are calling it, if you're still in the matrix, and depending on where you get your information from, you don't see it. You're just keeping about your day. Oh, wow, this incredibly unfortunate thing just happened to Pacific Palisades. This is horrible. The insurance companies are absolutely evil. I'm not absolving them from anything by stating this, but some people will never see it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then did you dive in? And last thing, we'll jump into everything else.
It's fine.
Did you jump into the smart city, LA, and did you see what it would consist of?
Before.
Where it's just a whole smart city, cameras everywhere, videos, they'll document everything, like pretty much some Black Mirror shit.
That's all right in line with the whole, the previous iteration is called 15-minute city. It's all the same thing. It's all the same goals. Where people are living, are getting most of their needs met within a very generalized area, where you also have an incorporation of social credit score, which is that's where the cameras everywhere go into play. They can see you. They can track you. They can geolocate your smartphone. They know where you're shopping. They know what you're buying. They know what kind of posts you're making on social media, what kind of words you're saying, all of that. And it's all about control, which is where
I understand the cons, and I can already assume the cons of this, invasion of privacy, tracking, like it's a shit show, and then you're being graded off a system. Can you name some of the pros they're trying to push on this?
Well, the pros are you will no longer need to purchase a vehicle. For example, you don't need to spend your money on purchasing a vehicle if you don't. You can hop on the very conveniently placed metro that's mere steps away from your home. Right in the city where I live, over the last 5 years, they have built what's called transit-oriented development. High-rise apartments right along major public transportation. But that's where now they go like, oh, you don't have to spend your money on having your own vehicle. You can just hop and very easily just get to wherever you want to be. And so that's how they sell it. They're like, oh, everything's just going to be very convenient. Where you just, people kind of forcing people to start making balancing. Oh, what before, or my parents used to live in a suburb, 30 miles away from the city. Now I get to live 10 miles away from the city, and I don't need my own vehicle. But then you're not going to have the ability to, on a whim, do whatever you want at whatever time that you wanted to do it. You're going to have to regiment your lifestyle around at what times does the train go by, or the bus, whatever.
Right.
So
and now that affects your work schedule, that affects your family time, that affects everything. So now you're living off, now the system's controlling how you spend your time.
There you go.
Wow.
And that's how they achieve control. They just make everything as much as possible very convenient, so to speak. But it all hinges upon, do you have a perception of what liberty, what freedom you have or had in the past, whether or not you were able, or you have any, any recollection, any memory of, on a whim, I just feel like driving to Santa Monica and you live in freaking Pasadena. Just hopped in your car because you wanted to go to your favorite Sender shop over there.
Yeah.
And you, I'm not really going to do that because I got to wait for the train, which is in an hour, and then I'm going to have to hop in the bus and whatever. And that's how you start ending up making your decisions. Oh, well, what's convenient is I'm just going to go and get my Subway instead of going to your favorite hole-in-the-wall shop a few cities over. That's the nature of the game. That's what they're trying to do. And they make all these other things that Americans used to relate to freedom inconvenient. Almost make you feel that your freedom is it's bad, dangerous. You shouldn't own this type of gun. You shouldn't. No. That's what criminals do.
Well, that's the whole. I don't know if you heard that episode because you listen to a lot of my episodes. Which thank you.
Of course, man.
Arthur J. Williams, the counterfeiter.
Yep.
And he was talking about the digital money, which is the cryptocurrency that will, it will fluctuate based on what city you're in, what state you're in, and control and say, hey, in this city you can buy cigarettes, in this city you can't buy cigarettes, in this city you can buy a gun, in this city you can't buy a gun, you can buy ammunition here, and they can just control it based on where you're at.
Central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do. So now we have a city controlling the time and schedule of your life, and then you have the bank and the money controlling what you purchase. I mean,
you're talking about getting rid of cash.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If that's an entirely, very, very strong movement about getting rid of cash. And if once you get rid of cash, yes,
it's happening, man.
In a second, they can the bank, or they can give an order to the bank, or if the government is the one who controls all the transactions, they can very easily shut down certain types of transactions.
Easily, they could say no cigarettes in Nevada. That's it.
Correct.
Like in LA, you can't buy menthol cigarettes.
Correct.
So now they're going to be like, okay, you go to the store and hey, I want the menthols, and the card will reject it. We'll be like, you can't purchase that flavor.
That's how it's incremental. They start with what in society we deem that, that's less favorable. You shouldn't be smoking as it is. Right. You know what I mean? You shouldn't really be using tobacco.
Right.
So that's how they get you used to, big daddy government knows best.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, if you have no longer have cash transactions, if everything is electronic, they can see that this is an item that's verboten, right? Prohibited. And they just shut it down. No, you're not buying that. And then they go, the next progression is through what I mentioned already before, social credit score. Like, they're literally, people, please look this up. They're literally doing this in China. China gives you allotted credits through the Communist Party and all that. You cannot, kind of like welfare here, right? Or EBT or whatever. You get to spend this money
on certain
items only. So that's the next iteration. If you
but it applies to everybody.
If you are, a well-behaved citizen, if you haven't spoken against the government or your governor, whatever, Gavin Newsom was absolutely, amazed when he went to China and he gave them praises about how the whole social credit score system works. If you're a well-behaved citizen, you get to travel. You get to spend your allotted credits on XYZ, whatever the government deems that's our appropriate expenditures by the subjects. Because in a system like that, you're no longer a citizen; you're a subject.
Right. Yeah, of course.
For all intents and purposes.
Right. Which we've been more of a subject in more cases than not. It's just now they have more control of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Americans.
What do we do?
What do we do?
What are the options?
We have to speak about it. Those of us who have lived long enough on this earth and on this country, who have experienced, what
but it looks like they'll just come in and burn your fucking house down.
Consider freedom. That's what it's looking like right now.
If you speak up, they'll just take your freedom. They'll just arrest you. They'll make you look crazy. Looks like.
Which has happened
how do you
to
beat this?
Yes. It's happened to multiple people. We have to have these conversations. We have to speak with our fellow citizens. We have to. Wow, I'm so glad you asked that question, because I just literally, my last post on Instagram was just a screenshot from something I said on X. I told my followers, if you happen, I'm not saying this verbatim, I'm just rephrasing, paraphrasing. If you're somebody who says, I'm just not into politics, I don't do politics, like when people start having conversations about what we're talking about, right? I just don't do politics. I got bad news for you. If you don't do politics, politicians are doing you. If you're not involved, guess what? Politicians are doing you.
Right.
And that's bottom line. That's as blunt as I can put it. Politicians.
I think there's two parts to that. One, you're absolutely right. If you're not involved in I'm not in politics, and you're fucking being ran over, and they're gonna just take advantage of it, and they're gonna use your vote, or they're gonna use your social security, or they're gonna use your count, or they're gonna use your citizenship to push whatever agenda they want, because you're not speaking your mind, period. And two, I do believe that people that say, I don't like politics, are really opposed to the opposite side, and they're just avoiding a fucking a conversation they're not educated enough to support.
Very good point.
Because of their
very good point.
Like, oh, well, you're going for Trump? I'm not into politics.
Right.
But really, behind the scenes, they're like, oh, no, I'm going to go for somebody else, but I don't even know why, because they're not even fully convinced of why.
Correct. And that's a great point, because a lot of people, I mean, and I'm not knocking it. I was up to some point in my life, I'm just living in my bubble, right? We all have our own bubbles of whatever it is that we have going on in life. And we like to believe that, our little square of influence, that's just the way that life is, right?
Yeah.
And we do not like to imagine that our little square or circle of influence, whatever you want to call it, it's getting really that much affected by these outside, these faraway things, right? The city council or state government, or the county governments, county supervisor, all that. It really is. Like, let me give you a perfect example. Just a couple of days ago, came out that because of the fires, I think it's a compatriota of mine, somebody that was born and raised in Puerto Rico, somebody by last name Quiñones. The first name escapes me. This is the main person in LADWP, LA Department of Water and Power. Makes $750,000 of your money.
Yeah, the president makes $450,000. The governor of this, and
year.
this guy's making $750,000. Yeah, I saw that.
And this person could
Boricua.
not Boricua. This person, this individual, could not get the LADWP is in charge of the freaking water hydrants. You mean to tell me that I believe the water hydrants, which get fed by the Palisades, it's called Santa Ynez Reservoir or something like that, I think.
Right, it was completely emptied, and it holds millions of gallons of water, and it was emptied. It was emptied prior to this,
and it's been empty.
Yeah, no. I think they had water in the last rain, and then they emptied it out for whatever reason.
Yeah. And probably let it go to the ocean. Didn't
right?
Like,
and I do want to not rebuttal, but I do want to bring up people's concerns where people are like, well. It's not just water, it's the power and the hydrants, and it's for houses. I get that. Of course, we all do. We're not fucking stupid, but you would have prevented a lot more fires. You would have prevented a lot more exposure and growing. And look, today and tomorrow, it's gonna be going nuts. Mm-hmm. I think we have a wind advisory till tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you guys are affected. The people in the county over there, they've had a lot of power outages, right?
Well,
because I had the guys from Advent Black call me up, and I was just chatting with them. They were checking on us, and they were like, "We have no power."
Like, really?
I was like, "Really?" The residents. I don't know about the business, but
I think to comment on that, for particular places where if your power is supplied by power lines that are above ground, I think they ended up shutting down power, and I think that's probably gonna become standard here pretty soon if we have high wind events. If you're the sector where you live or your business is at, if it gets fed by power lines that are on power poles, you're gonna be losing power, which absolutely sucks, man. All these power companies are making hand over fist, like absolute ungodly amounts of money. And yet they don't invest from that money, which I believe, to be honest with you, in my particular area where I live, Southern California Edison did, over the last year, replace power lines. Fantastic. Where I live, the particular place where I live, our power is underground. So we didn't lose. And I'm literally across the street from Advent Black. But apparently they, I don't know.
Well, like I said, I think it was at their home, so I don't know.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But yeah, there are, these people are making these very handsome paychecks from the taxpayers to theoretically have the system, be working the way that it's supposed to be working. What happened?
Right.
Why were the fire hydrants not, in working order? You mean to tell me you're probably one of the highest paid, government officials in California's history.
The United States.
Or you're right. Of the entire United States, and this wasn't working. And by the way, the fire department didn't know about it. Crazy.
And the fire department had a $17 million cut.
Yep.
When does this? We've all heard the stories. We're all witnessing it. It's unraveling in front of our face. When are people going to pay fucking consequences? I mean, people are dealing with legal consequences fucking on little shit.
I'm so glad.
When are we? Which reminds me, I got to get Claudia back on and come and be like, what is happening? But when? Like it's in front of our face. We're witnessing murder. We're witnessing stupidity. We're witnessing the smart city LA. The website was launched like 3 years ago. Like this was planned in those areas. What a coincidence.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, I think you've probably seen this. Some people already, like the day after Palisades burnt, they started getting phone calls with offers for their land. I've seen
land grabs. Land grabs.
Getting offers for their land. Hey, I know you had a house that was worth $3 million, but right now, I can give you a 750 for that. Will you take it? That's freaking wild, man.
In front of, but that's what I'm saying. It's happening in front of. I have a good friend of mine. He has multiple houses, you know, whatever the case is. But his house just burnt down, and the insurance ain't gonna cover nothing.
Nope.
He's had really bad luck with that property because he got it, and then there was like a kitchen fire. He was doing Airbnb, and there was a kitchen fire, and then they were like, "Oh, we're not covering it." Airbnb didn't cover it. His insurance didn't cover it. Then he had to fix it, and this was during COVID. And then he couldn't fix it, and then he went to pay. You know, he was going to pay out of pocket. She paid out of pocket. Permits. It took 2 years. It took 2 years to fix one wall. Then it was like, all right, we're back in business. Then Airbnb, the city got strict, no Airbnb. So he's like, okay, so now he's sitting on it. And then I think somebody was renting it. Then they started squatting, and then he got rid of them.
Oh my god!
And now the thing burnt down, and I don't think there's fire insurance.
Wow.
Millions of dollars lost. Millions and millions of dollars.
That is so sad.
It's terrible.
But yeah, I think we're probably reaching, if we haven't yet, we're probably reaching that point where people are going to like, all right, you know what? Open up the books. Let's look at all these laws. Let's look at these city ordinances, county ordinances. What's getting in the way of true progress? What's stopping me from having a profitable business? What's all this red tape going, all these permitting nonsense? Why do I have to, if this is my property, why do I have to get permission from the government to do these things, with my property? I think we're probably reaching that part. As far as California is concerned, because.
But where is the criminal aspect of these people holding accountable? They've spent. Right now, there's fires.
Yeah.
There was no prevention. There was no water. There was no power. There was no hydration. A shit show. We all know the facts. We're all watching the same feed. We're all watching the same feed. Then we've spent $25 billion on the homeless situation. The homeless situation has not been solved. It hasn't been close to being solved. The situation's worse. So these city officials that spent $25 billion to fix the homeless issue, I think they did a breakdown that if they were to grab that money and just spread it between it was like $140,000 for each person. Here you go. And I guarantee you they would have solved their problem. I get it, mental health and drugs and whatever the case is, but there would have been a better fix than what's going on now. So if we can't rely on them to spend $25 billion on homeless, if we can't rely on them to keep the mountains and the forest of the Hollywood Hills, you know, Rick Caruso's getting shit right now because he hired the fire department to protect his property. No, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to rely on your government because especially a government that's failed so many times.
If you rely on the government, you will lose your property.
Dude, I never talk like this on the podcast. Like I really try to keep it neutral and pick. But dude, enough's enough. When do you think they're gonna start facing criminal fucking charges? So where is the fucking thing? We're fucking seeing it. You steal a piece of paper and you're going to eat shit. You have consequences. You know, I'm dealing with certain consequences right now for the stupidest things. Right. And now you're murdering and burning and you're affecting the city and you're polluting the environment. What happened to the environment? Fuck the rich people's houses. They're not all rich. There was a mobile park that fucking lost whatever. Right. Why didn't we clean up the forests to prevent for the environment? You know, we're so worried. They had, what was it, 60 cars from Oregon, fire trucks. They stopped them in Sacramento for fucking smog checks.
I heard that. Yeah.
You know, and they couldn't. They were being held back. Are we fucking serious? When do people face criminal charges?
See, the problem is you're asking the right question, but then the point being you got to have statutes that say that if you do this and we consider that criminal or negligent, whatever, then you must face these consequences. But then what you're literally saying is government must investigate government and find government accountable. And that's where the system ends up protecting the system.
I have hope. Trump's not going to let that slide.
I have hope. It does require the other subset of attorney generals and all that. It does require those people to have the cojones to
balls
or lady balls, whatever, for the ones that are women, to, open up like legitimate investigations and then follow through with, charging. What I can actually tell you is, I can segue into firearms, into gun rights, because there are in several states in the country, and I believe there's one federal statute where it's called under the color of law, deprivation of rights under the color of law, for example. If you are somebody in a elected or justice positions, such as judges, whatever, if you have enacted statute and or are enforcing a statute that goes against somebody's rights, namely gun rights, knowingly, then you can be civilly liable. I think that's where the rubber is going to meet the road in places, for example, like California. But it's going to require somebody in the state legislature to think about this. Okay, here's, and let me just explain it, just give the simple scenario. State legislator or whatever, Joe Schmockatelli, they see that the state has been purposely infringing on the gun rights of Californians by passing a law that says that, you have to ask permission from us to be able to carry a gun. That is blatantly in violation of the Second Amendment. If you are Mr. or Mrs. Politician, if you drafted that law, if you passed that law that says that you are going to violate this person's constitutional rights, then you should be civilly liable. People should be able to, whoever, was deprived of their rights, if a cop pulled you over, took you to jail because you were carrying a gun without having a little, card that says that you're approved by the government, your rights were infringed. You should be able to sue the politician who authored that law. You should be able to sue civilly the governor that signed that law into place for violating your Second Amendment rights. Do you get what I'm saying? That's where the rubber will meet the road, where up in the on the ground level, at the roots of the cause for all these people, violating our rights and mishandling our taxes. Taxation is theft anyway.
That's another topic.
Yeah. I consider that a crime.
Which I do like how the president of El Salvador has been open about taxes in general throughout the world. Mm-hmm. He's been speaking really good stuff.
Yeah. I think that's
right. But our rights are being infringed. Our rights, but it's so hard to fight the system, man.
Absolutely. The system's going to protect itself.
Yeah, of course. The system's definitely going to.
But if we want to, which we should always resort to doing it peacefully, right, through the civil process of redressing our grievances with the government, which is what the founders left us. We should strive. Yeah, we have these beautiful implements that protect all our rights, but we should strive the most to do it through the process that the founders left us. However long it takes, I don't know. Can we somehow, some way, cut down the fat from the system where it actually works a little bit more expeditiously? I hope that we can somehow, by getting people who are not part of the system into office at whatever, whether it's the federal level, state level, county level, city level, all that. And there are people that are running, for office Claudia is a great example. So many others that haven't made it through yet, which is another thing that we still need to deal with. The whole mail-in voting, all that stuff, that's just rife for, misuse.
Yeah.
But I think it's getting bad enough in California.
Talking about California, I have here a few things I want to talk about, some key points. California's complex gun laws.
Crazy.
What are the basic things that people are dealing with, consequences that people don't deal with in other states? Just some basic bullet points of what it is and what it should be.
I'm so glad
based off the United States Constitution.
I'm so glad you bring that up. The at the most basic level, I probably have said this before in your podcast. At the most basic level, we all know that I'm gonna break it down to the lowest level. We have 50 states, right? We have the federal constitution. Each state has its own constitution. This gets me freaking fired up.
The coffee. No, it's the Cuban coffee.
Yeah. Every state has its own constitution as well. Most states fashioned their state constitution to mimic the federal constitution of the United States.
Right.
The state of California
does not.
Skipped over the Second Amendment. So that's where you have to... That's the baseline. We do not have a Second Amendment, version in the state constitution. The only mention, which is not really considered as rights, the problem that we have is the statutes related to firearms in California are only contained within the penal code. And people, please go ahead and look this up. The only way that firearms in the hands of citizens in the state of California, the only way that they're mentioned is within the penal code, which means it's only treated as, if you don't do this, you're a criminal. If you don't do that, you're a criminal. And you're treated as a criminal. It's not treated, the Second Amendment is truly... literally in the state of California is not treated as a right. It's treated as criminal first. If you don't do this, you're a criminal. It's not like...
It doesn't matter that it's registered. It doesn't matter that you bought it legal. It doesn't matter you did a background check. It doesn't matter you waited the 7 or 10 days? 7 days, right?
Well, the thing is, all these things that you just listed...
Right. Shouldn't even exist.
Thank you.
At
the end of the day,
so even though and if you play that game and you have your gun because it's your right, it's a penal code.
Yes, absolutely. If you did not adhere to
not a penal code. Yeah.
Penal code, yeah. PENAL.
That's what I was like. The Cuban accent.
Yeah, there are so many ways that you can break the penal code. It's not even funny. Like you not even paralegal level, education. You need to have full-blown JD degree to understand these laws. And each and every year, more and more get tacked on. And it comes from the root of it is at the level of the state constitution. The Second Amendment is non-existent. It's not a right. It's contained. It's first and foremost a crime to, not. It's just seen as a crime first. I'm just gonna call it like it is. If you are treated as a criminal first.
Yeah, I know. It's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty.
Correct.
It's not that at all, dude. Not. You're guilty until proven innocent. Correct. Period. Correct. Period. This is a really fucked up system. Which, how do you fight that? Because you get. I can't even continue, but I can give examples, but I'm not going to give examples. But it's truly you have an offense or you have something or you found something. you're treated like a criminal.
In a place like California, the way that you fight that, it's really ugly. It's not pretty.
And it's very expensive.
Yes.
And guess, yeah.
The way that you fight it in a state like in California is you break the law. You break the unconstitutional law. I will caveat, I will put it that way. You must have been injured by the law, by the unconstitutional law. You must have been injured, and then you go and sue the state in federal court by saying, this law says that I broke the, valga la redundancia, being for saying it twice, you broke the unconstitutional law, which infringed on your rights, and then you go and sue the state, and then you start the entire process of, the violation of civil rights, which is incredibly expensive, like you alluded to, and hope that the judges that see your case agree with the Constitution,
or the jury,
jury
at that point.
If it's a jury trial, but the way that we fight it is the way that you have to fight it is through the federal courts, because if the law, you believe that the law infringed on your United States Constitution right through the Second Amendment, you have to fight it on the federal courts, because again, on the state level, we don't have a Second Amendment.
No, at all.
So you have to fight it on the federal side. However, there have been less than a handful of cases here in California and in recent memory where at the state level, citizens of California have beat charges. The name of the case escapes me, but in the Sacramento, I believe it's in the Sacramento area, a gentleman a couple of years ago got locked up because he was carrying a firearm without a license. Judge dismissed it. The judge dismissed it.
What do you mean no license?
Without a CCW permit, without a California CCW permit. The judge just dismissed it. This was literally after this was in 2022. Now I remember. Summer of 2022, the Bruin decision had just come out by the Supreme Court, which said, people have a right to carry firearms outside of the home. Judge dismissed it because the individual did not have a need to petition the government for this, which is a right. Super rare in the state of California court system, but it did happen. This is, for all intents and purposes, a judge who agrees with the United States Constitution, right? That comes with the reality, the fact that in the state federal court system, in the state court system and the federal court system, you have judges that agree with the United States Constitution. You have judges who disagree with certain parts of the United States Constitution, and they are willing to wield that power to lock you up, because in their eyes, you do not have a right to keep and bear arms, or you do.
Even though they have private securities and they have armed securities and they have blah blah, they have bailiffs with fucking.
But that's because they're important people, right? That's because
they're important, right? Yeah, we're not important
in society.
Our families are not important and everything else. That makes a whole lot of sense. Mm-hmm. Second Amendment and the new presidency. What's going on? Any updates on that?
The biggest contribution of the Trump presidency on his first term was obviously judge and justice appointments, not just the justice appointments in the Supreme Court, but also in lower level federal courts. There were plenty of appointments that Trump made of people who were actual constitutionalists, right, who understand that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and to the original definition of the Constitution and of the Bill of Rights that the founders gave us. So for the fight of the Second Amendment, that was what I consider, in my humble opinion, the biggest contribution. He did not have a stellar record on Second Amendment. He did make some pretty bad decisions regarding to the Second Amendment. Bump stock ban, which was a huge one. He made some very unfortunate comments after, I believe, some mass, what people call mass shootings, right? Where he, in public statements, he said, take the guns first, do process later. Those are not things that we need any elected official saying. The Bill of Rights, our rights are there for a reason. That's not the way that our system's supposed to work. Why? Because once you get started on those things, government, all the government is good for is increasing its power.
Right.
The government very, very, probably never gives up power. So once you empower the government to do these things, it's very hard to take it back. So he has sons who are avid, Second Amendment right supporters.
Yeah, they went to like shooting, and he met a lot of people, and he was like, "Yeah,"
which is kind of weird because he's such a boomer. I'm gonna call it like it is. He's such a boomer. He's not really. He used to be, a New York Democrat, old school, right? Who relied on the government for their safety. I don't believe he's, an avid Second Amendment advocate like his sons are and people in his sphere. And he just has not yet really fully grasped, or internalized what it is that the Second Amendment lifestyle is about. Just because he's not able to articulate it. When he's asked about Second Amendment stuff, he sadly he has made some progress. I will say this, but sadly he just resorts to the what we call a little bit of lip service. I'm gonna call it like it is.
Yeah.
But
I thought he was pushing a good agenda, like that American citizens should be allowed, to carry their guns,
which is what he's he has stated recently when he was pressed about semi-automatic rifle bans and all that. He's acquired a new set of statements that he said no, people are supposed to have their guns for their self-defense, and that is okay to say.
Right.
It can't be the old tired, people are using this for lawful things, for sporting, for skeet shooting, and for hunting. No. People need guns.
Yeah.
People have a right to their guns to keep their freedom, right? To ensure there's the security of the free state, all that jazz. People are part of the militia. The militia is not and I will not get tired of saying this. The militia in the Second Amendment is not about a standing army. It's about the people, which is all of us as a society. We have the right to keep and bear arms.
I agree with that. I believe that. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But when people, in general, people that are not completely convinced, or the people that are completely opposed to this, when they think of the situation of the militia, people up against government, if it needed to get to that point, how realistic that is. How realistic is that if we had to go up against our own government because they wanted to, make it into a communist country and take away everything?
Right. That's where.
And would they do it with force like this, or would they just do it like the way they're doing it right now with, hey, we're creating a smart city. It's so convenient. It's cool. Just give up your own rights. We're pretty stupid already that we're just giving up everything, right?
Yeah.
Like I was watching an interview, and it's like it was like the CIA or FBI used to have to like sneak into your house and put bugs in your fucking house,
Right.
And now we
carry these devices that are
Alexas and Amazon,
Echo, all those stuff.
The FBI is like, yeah, thanks, guys.
Our TVs are already listening. Have been listening.
They have cameras, supposedly. I think TVs have cameras. I don't know what it is, but somebody said they have.
At the very least, they have listening devices.
Oh, for sure, for sure. But again, we don't have to go to that extreme. But obviously, when you make a statement, the militia and us and against our government, this and that. How do you visualize that, or how would you describe that? How does that look?
How does it look with the government?
American
the government
citizens,
has become tyrannical, and how do citizens take it back?
Yeah,
ugly. It's
that's a great way to describe it.
If you have studied any of within the last 50 years, we've had several instances in other countries where the government is just not working out, and people have to take it or attempt to take it back in some form or fashion, and it's ugly. That's just the easiest way to describe it. You have wherever a power system goes away, which becomes a vacuum of power, then you have strong men or women who attempt to step up and fill those voids, right? Whether it's at the biggest level, right, which is whether it's the president or members of parliament, whatever, it's ugly. And more often than not, it's people who have the ability to assert power in some sort of fashion. More than likely, it's physical power. But that is why it's a very, very difficult conversation to have. It's stuff that we do not like. Generally speaking, we do not like to imagine, right, that society would have to, our society that we like to believe is civilized, right, that we would have to resort to doing uncivilized things.
Right, which I think right now they came out with a statistic that if you stop water and power and food supplies in a city like LA, I think they said 90% of people would be dead within 30 days.
Bro, our society is so fragile. So incredibly fragile, it's not even funny. We've seen it here with the fires. I mean, a very localized absence, the authorities are overwhelmed, and all of a sudden you have dudes showing up 2, 3, 4, 5 vehicles deep over or more, almost 100 dudes showing up in your freshly evacuated zone trying to loot it. And you happen to be one of those people. No, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving my house. And all of a sudden you see these dudes showing up and they're trying to, open your door. What do you do?
Right.
No, man. Our society is incredibly susceptible and fragile. And that's why we need to have stuff like this, stuff like this that you can assert your try to keep your own independence.
And somebody would see a mass like this and be like, "Oh, what the fuck? Why do you need a mass like that? What are you worried? They're gonna fucking send gases or tear gas or no? There's a fucking fire, but even just a basic fire." Yeah, the amount of chemicals right now in the air with the older houses and leads and this and woods and blah, blah, blah.
Asbestos, everything.
It's all in our air, and people don't realize this. And this is like the minimum requirement here. This is like a little bit more advanced. Not even advanced. This should be basic. No. And this is mandatory. This is mandatory. A personal handgun, a rifle. Yep. Again, you just stop supplies, food, electricity. Just for a few days, shit's gonna get crazy.
Yes, very.
I think I told you when there was like 2 houses in Studio City that started burning, and I was like, "This is fucking weird." So I was doing like little patrols and checking out the neighborhood, and it's like all the. I'm just gonna say, but the homeless people that usually are fucking sitting in the corner, like they act really nice usually, like. regularly. In other conditions, they're in the corner. Hey, you got some change, and whatever, bring your water, whatever. But that night, like I swear to you, it was like fucking demons were got into them, and they were literally standing in the middle of the street and just watching the houses burn on the mountains, and they were just. I was like, fuck, man, the energy going on here is insane, and. At first, I was like, I'm overthinking this, but I'm not overthinking this. There was literally arson. There's literally theft. There's literally robbery. There's literally people taking advantage and coming up on this. The guy fucking dressed up as a firefighter. Like, how fucking sick are you, man?
You are not overthinking it. That is your literal...
My spider senses.
Yes, that is your survival instinct kicking in.
Yeah.
And you have to listen to it because it will keep you alive.
Yeah.
If you try to insert political correctness into your train of thought in a situation, in an extraordinary situation such as this, you will get yourself hurt.
Okay, I think this was the most important. I have a bunch of questions here, but I think this is the most important question right now, since we're talking about this right now. Where does a regular person get trained for this? Where does a person get a list of what to buy, what to purchase, how to protect themselves, how to cover themselves, safety gears, masks? Where is that list? Where are the resources to get information? Because if you think about it, there's none.
No. There are people who teach, about survival.
How do you find this?
All these the pros at it. I'm not a pro.
I'm a tech savvy guy. I guarantee you, me va a costar trabajo if I go online try to look for like
no, not at all. You do find people who do this for a living, teaching people how to be resilient. There are groups who train regularly. They like to call themselves militias. Some of them are just preppers. All of a sudden, it's so funny, dude, because years ago, you would be called a nut job if you were a prepper, right? There were shows then about it, and people ridiculing it, and they're like, no. It's a thing because people, and for a very long time, people have said, again, valga la redundancia, I'm not trying to be, I am being redundant on purpose. Society is fragile. You just do simple searches, survival training. There are plenty of lists that you can look up. We have experience of that in California with earthquake preparedness. Is extremely similar to be prepared for an earthquake to versus a civil unrest. Extremely similar. Have bags ready with first necessity articles for yourself and each member of the family. If you need a shelter in place, have access to plenty of fresh water.
Fill up your bathtub, kind of things like
all that type of stuff. It's all a matter. So I will let me present it to you this way. You have to pluck yourself. What I mentioned before, you have to pluck yourself out of your bubble. And it's difficult. It's not comfortable. Pop your own bubble every once in a while. Make yourself search the ugly stuff online that you usually avoid. That you or when you're watching the nightly news and they're doing the bad news and you let me turn it off. That just every once in a while pop your own bubble. Do those searches. Watch the nightly news and see what are the bad things that are happening to other people, because that's why we like to say, oh, that's happening to other people. I don't live there. My city is safe. And then you put yourself through the process. Okay, how would I react if that situation happened in my city? How would my family be able to react and cope with that? What would be the scenarios? You have to place yourself in those uncomfortable situations. And then you grab a sheet of paper. I will share this personally, this personal stuff with you and the audience. My wife asked the questions about our pets, dude. Our pets. We have pets. 2 cats, 1 dog. What if we had to evacuate? Do we have the stuff that we need? And we don't. For our pets, and we love our pets. Our pets are members of our family. My kids were absolutely not forgive me if we had to leave our home and not take our pets.
Yeah.
So I made a freaking list of the things that we need. We need pet crates. We need their food. We need to have whether it's the carrier things for our pets, their food, their whatever it is, toys or whatever, water for our pets, bowls, all that stuff. And that's the same thing that you put yourself through the same process for your family members. And I believe that's a good starting point. And then if you're somebody who's in a budget, a lot of us are, nowadays with the crappy economy. I don't know. You be the judge of your situation. Every paycheck or every other paycheck, you identified the things that you don't yet have, individual first aid kit, whatever. And then you knock that out, but it's going to require discipline, right? If you need to leave your daily freaking expensive coffee that you like to go get, you leave it. Why? The life and well-being of your loved ones is way more valuable than that little, luxury that you like to give yourself every day or stuff like that.
Do you think people will change? Do you think that people that live in their bubble, do you think they'll change? Because a part of me is like, I feel like they won't.
The people who there's no better test to, there's no better bubble popper than the real world. So the people who, many of us, know somebody who lost their house in these fires. My wife was telling me she knows somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, right?
I know a few people.
Correct. And that's what gets you thinking. At the end of the day,
I know people right now in Calabasas. I have a friend of mine.
Evacuate.
She had power outages. Mm-hmm. She's on her own, and through the whole neighborhood and everybody else, they're like, "There's people in our neighborhood robbing our neighborhood."
Who are not from here.
She's terrified, But then I'm thinking about like, stop drinking that cup of coffee and buy the first aid kit. Stop drinking the coffee, and I start thinking, go to the fucking gym, work out, be in shape.
Get ready to be in shape.
And that's why I'm thinking about like the minimal requirements to be a decent human for your own protection. Most people are not going to do it, probably. Most people are they're gonna eat their bag of chips. They're gonna eat their fucking bag of chips and their Snickers bars and their fucking $20 Starbucks, and they're gonna be like, "Those guys are stupid."
Correct. You gotta have the right amount. Losers. You gotta have the right amount and the strong enough incentive, right, to do that. But if you don't, those are the first people to go.
Yeah, and good. If shit hits the fan, good. You don't protect yourself, good. I don't care. Nobody's gonna protect you. Period. And if you rely on your government, good luck.
Absolutely.
Good luck.
Because guess what?
I hate to sound like that, but that's just
no. It's just reality, man.
It's just reality.
We suffer from reality. That's all it is.
Right now, there's multi-millionaires and successful people losing their properties.
Absolutely.
They're not going to recover. They're like, they could buy it up. Maybe they can't.
If they manage their money properly, yeah.
And it's not only that. It's just the amount. Look, you know how long it's going to take to get the clean out there? They're going to have to assess each property. Right. Then they're going to have to like throw away all the hazardous material. Then they're going to have to clean out the material. And then the permits and all. I'm telling you, one wall during COVID took a friend of mine. He's a very, he's a doctor at a high level. And it took him 2 years just to go through the permit process. And he paid out of pocket because he had to jump through all these loops through the insurance companies.
That's one of the things that Newsom's being, slammed for right now, because he just, I think yesterday or the day before, he signed some sort of executive order eliminating all the ridiculous red tape for the people in Palisades.
That's what they're saying, but it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible. And I know maybe it is because again, we have the World Cup, we have the Super Bowl, and the Olympics coming. And that's all starting. So maybe they'll pull something off. I don't fucking believe it, man.
But
You're talking about
highlights
logistics.
The fact it shouldn't have been there in the first place.
100%. But to top it off, you're talking about supply and demand.
Correct.
And all, which I wouldn't be surprised they already have it lined up. I wouldn't be surprised if they have it lined up.
Who owns the lumber companies? Who holds the share? The amount of stock and stucco, everything,
carpets, floors, the furniture stores. It's all lined up, isn't it?
The solar panels, all that stuff, all that.
Motherfuckers, dude.
Yep.
Okay, what do we got?
I don't know if I answered your question.
What's that?
I don't know if I answered your last question. But anyway.
Well, we talked about the legal battles for rights. We've been covering that. The Second Amendment and the new presidency, which we kind of touched into that.
I want to add something.
Yeah.
The state level.
I just wrote this if we didn't have anything to talk about.
The state and local level is where it's at. We have to be knowledgeable and know what is going on at the state and local level, because you have to assert your power as a citizen the closest to your home.
Yeah.
Where you're at. You have to make time to show up, or at the very least go to the freaking webpage of your city council
and stay updated
and see what it is that they're doing.
But here's a random question: what percentage of the youth do you think is keeping up with this? Because there's old, like I know a bunch of old timers that we talk about. Fuck, we're old timers.
Keeping up with what? Keeping up with what?
Weapons, protection, security, future, government, staying up with your local laws.
Right.
How, like, when I was a kid, as soon as as soon as I turned 18, I bought a shotgun and a rifle. I bought the, the fucking takedown 22 Air Force rifle, the one that fits into the buttstock. That was like my first thing. As soon as I turned 18, I was like, I want one of these, and fucking shooting cans, pop, pop, pop. But I don't think any kid. I mean, my kid with the dirt bike, he wants his little, he calls it a bad guy destroyer. He wants his little bad guy destroyer.
Good. He's right in the right path.
But how many kids right now are looking to break the matrix or protect themselves or look into laws or look into?
It depends on their parents. Who are their parents? It really does, because it depends on what type of conversation their parents are having with them.
See, that's so fucking weird, man. Because that's where I feel like, that's where I feel so different. Like I didn't grow up with this, it was kind of just out of my own interest, it was out of my own curiosity. Yeah. I mean, I had some friends that would go shooting, and then I'd go with them. I was like, that's fucking awesome, But it just always, I feel, called for me or attracted me.
Yeah,
Same thing with
really
motorcycles.
Does.
I didn't grow up with motorcycles, But then I went one time in the desert when I was like 16, 17. And I was like, I gotta get this shit.
So in your case, you just had an innate, right? Kind of thirst for knowledge and different stuff, right? It's either that or your parents or your loved ones, whoever's in your innermost circle, is putting in those little specks, planting those little seeds.
Even better. How'd you get into guns?
Paying attention. Paying attention
what was
to
the pivot
what was
point? What
going on. Okay, so I don't remember if I even told you this story, but I was an active duty. My very first gun, I was an active duty. It was 2004. I was already married. 2004, 2003, somewhere abouts. I can buy a gun. I can own a gun. Sure, let me just go buy one. I just went to a local gun shop, whatever I could afford. I just grabbed it just to be able to.
What was your first gun?
Defend myself. It wasn't. It was a very run of the mill, what you would call starter gun.
Yeah, I had one of those.
Smith. Yeah. Most people do. Smith and Wesson 40 caliber. I went for
Oh.
Yeah.
Typical Puerto Rican.
Exactly. 40. Yes. Because growing up, tengo una punto 40. That was, old school reggaeton song. Tengo una punto 40.
Bueno, también
a volar la cabeza cualquiera. That was legit.
Is that Vico C?
Huh?
Was that Vico C?
No, that was Baby Rasta y Gringo. Oh. That was the name of the duo.
Group. Yeah. Or también el de 70 era Pedro Navaja. Pedro Navaja, las manos siempre dentro del bolsillo, para que no sepan que cuál de ellas
lleva el puñal. But it was the prostitute that had the 38 special.
Yeah. Un 38 Smith & Wesson del especial.
Yeah, 38 special. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. So that was your first was a Smith & Wesson 40 caliber.
Yep.
Un poquito exagerado, chico, coño.
Very old school, run of the mill. It was actually years later. I learned that was the Smith and Wesson's answer to the Glock. Because Glock,
but it was all stainless, right?
What's that?
It's all steel, right? That 40 that you're talking about?
No. That was one of the very first polymer frame that Smith and Wesson came out. Semi-automatic, because everything before Smith and Wesson was revolvers back in the day. That was like the main, for cops before they moved on to semi-automatics. And that was one of it was the Sigma line, which Smith and Wesson came out with as an answer to the stiff competition that Glock, which came out with the polymer frames, had brought into the market in the United States. And it's very similar design to the first generation Glocks, and I still had that gun, and it has not failed me once. Thousands and thousands of rounds later. Yeah, but then I was obviously in the military, so in the Marine Corps. You only get to experience just a very, very small amount of firearms, which is whatever it is that whatever your service is using, which in those days it was the Beretta M9s. That's what's called in the military, but it's the Beretta 92. That's what we had, and that was my first experience with the handgun, and obviously the M16s that we had back then. So then my second firearm was my daughter. My firstborn, which was a daughter, was born. My second firearm that I bought was a shotgun, because growing up, being born and raised in PR, Puerto Rico, if the saying was, if you have a daughter, you have a shotgun. That shit was imprinted in me. It was. Yeah. It was the law. It was the law. If you have a daughter, whenever your daughter brings boyfriend in, you have your shotgun with you. That shit was just imprinted in me. So I almost
short barrel and shit.
Well, that's some of the
yeah.
I will use it as a caveat. One of the first some of the infringements that we're dealing with is that you cannot lawfully have a short barrel shotgun. That is what we call an NFA item.
Yeah,
it's a restricted item, because if you own a short barrel shotgun, it must mean that you want to do bad things with it, not anything else. Yeah. You want to conceal it, and you want to go rob places and blah blah blah.
Yeah, which you can't do with a knife, and you can't do with a bat.
There you
can't
go.
Do with the car.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
Yeah, my buddy.
Thank you. Yeah. So
that was
my very second firearm, and then from there the rest is history.
And now you only have two guns.
Right. Quite a few.
I got a note here. Senate bill. What's going on with the new CCC regulations in California, and are they enhancing training, limits, policies, or carry any sensitive areas?
So after the 2022 Bruin decision, that New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin decision, that was in 2022 by the Supreme Court. A lot of the anti-Second Amendment states immediately, whether it was their legislature or the state governors calling the state legislatures, we cannot have this. We need to have, we need to have strict regulations. This is, if everybody all of a sudden gets to carry because it says in the Constitution, this is going to become the wild, wild west, right? Gunfight at the OK Corral, all that stuff. So the different chambers, whether it was Senate or state legislature in many of the anti-gun states, which are California, Oregon, Washington, East Coast, you have, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, all those, they all got really busy. And whatever the Bruin decision said that, no, citizens have these rights, they went and weaseled their way around those, creating sensitive places, which designating sensitive places, which is places of, where the public gathers or whatever, where you should not have the right to have a gun in it. Never mind, does that place provide you actual security? No. It's just like, no, you shouldn't have a gun in these areas. So that's one of the ones that we're dealing with in the state of California, sensitive places. And then,
I feel that when you talk about this, like when you're hearing what I think is by having less people protect themselves. Look, if everybody had a gun in the United States, guess what? There'd be less fucking incidents, less robberies, less. It's a fact. But by having less people with guns and only cops and bad guys with guns, you get to have more cops. And then if you have more cops, you have more control of the city. And if you have more control of the city, let's take a quick break. Tengo que orinar.
Yeah.
I'll be right back. And we're back. So we were literally talking about how if hypothetically you're going to create a system where you need to, have more police and have the government control more of the situation and give less power to the citizens, it would be make guns more difficult to get.
Yep.
By making guns more difficult to get, you're going to have only two people with guns, which would be police and the bad guys. And the more bad guys you have, the more police you'll have, and the more police you have, the more control. And then you create this false narrative of that you're protecting everybody, but at the same time, you're just arming your team. You're just arming your agenda. You're arming,
Yeah.
That's kind of where we were.
You just create the situation where you justify your existence more and more and more and your expansion because you are making sure that society sucks.
Right.
That the bad guys are like doing whatever the heck they want, unimpeded. Oh, well, that's why you need us.
Yeah.
The government. But it's so funny because sometimes in these days, bad guys, what we call bad guys in the government, is sometimes indistinguishable.
Yeah.
Because you cannot allow, we say this all the time in the Second Amendment advocacy community, you cannot allow the government to have a monopoly on violence.
Right.
It cannot be only the government or only people who work for the government who have the ability to wield the violence.
Yeah.
The citizens have to be able to do so as well. Not just tyranny doesn't only come from government. That's one thing that what I like to move the Overton window, right? The narrative forward. Tyranny doesn't only exist in government. Tyranny comes from an individual who is deciding to do this thing that's wrong to you. That's also tyranny,
Right.
They are.
It's funny because you get into these conversations about guns and protecting and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, people are like, well, why do you need a gun? That's what the police are here for. And this, that. But right. We hear it. But what's even more crazy is that we know in the United States, and especially in California, and especially in Los Angeles, there is a mental health issue. There is a mental health. People between prescriptions, drugs, trauma, mental health, all these things. So everybody's on board with there's a homeless issue. There's a crime issue. There's a, like we see it in our insurance, premiums. We see it everywhere. But for some reason, when you talk about guns, people are just so like, why do you need a gun? Why do you need a gun? Like the amount of people that I talk to that are just like so anti-gun and like they're doing a great job. The government's
they are
nailing it in California.
That's
anywhere else in the world is like, what are you talking about?
Well, that's people that are still living within the matrix, right? That they like to think that The reason why the government puts a gun to their head and says, pay me this amount in taxes based on however much you made is because you're going to receive these awesome services by us. We're going to keep you safe. The water is going to keep on coming
flowing,
through
the hydrants are going to be flowing.
Correct.
The firefighters are going to be able to put out the fire. We're going to prevent this.
And again, we like to live in our bubble and believe that the system is truly what is being told to us, right? So because that's how we keep our sanity, right? It's very hard to not fall down the rabbit hole and end up, falling into a very stressful pattern, right? Or anxiety, like, shit, this system is working against me, which is the other side of the spectrum, right?
Right.
And you may feel like that, rightfully so, that the system is working against you, that we have examples that very much look like that.
Right.
But how do you keep your sanity, right? If you have come to that realization or conclusion.
Yeah.
Sometimes, what I like to believe is what keeps me sane is I have kids, I have a wife, I have loved ones whom I would like for them to, in the case of my kids, I would like for them to still live in a country, where they experience the same level of freedom that I experienced, and that goal is what you should be using to keep yourself grounded from
that word freedom. I've traveled to a lot of countries. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of freedom out there. Mm-hmm. North Korea, whatever, China, parts of China. Oh no, big deal. I guess China's a big deal. 1.4 billion, but whatever. But you go to Europe, you go to South America, you go to there's a lot of fucking freedom, man. This is not the only place you get this. Mm-hmm. In some cases, I would almost say there's even more freedom in other places. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Is that really a selling point? To be here, freedom,
right,
America, freedom.
That's a very good question because obviously you have to define freedom, right?
Let me give you space.
Yeah, that's okay. Define freedom, or do we have freedom here? Do those people have freedom over there? Are there, or what it is that they have defined in their country, in their culture, their societal norms? What are the acceptable things? What are the unacceptable things, right? So yeah, you could say that freedom is a relative term, right? What are things that we are able to do here that people aren't able to do in other countries, and vice versa? What are those? And what type of value do they place on those things? What type of action must you go through the government first before you do that type of action? Like, for example, you could argue that countries that we here in the United States call the third world have more freedom. Where if this is your plot of land, you don't have a county, permitting department telling you cannot build that shit. No, you fucking go build your shit wherever you want.
Right.
Do you have to ask the government to, drill a hole to grab water from the well or from the aquifer that's right under your property? No, that's definitely more freedom over there. So yeah, it's definitely a relative term that I think comes from what it is that we have experienced in here in this country in our short lifespan,
right?
As a country. And you could argue that there are places in the United States that are still very much like that, where this is my fucking plot of land. I want a pond in my 20 acres.
I remember a few years ago, some guy bought some land, and he bought some land by the river. He had an RV. He had solar panels, and they penalized them. They went to his property and they penalized them, and it was illegal for him to do that. Yeah, he couldn't be off grid like that.
And that's
like what do you mean? He was a veteran. He was an army guy or something. I'm sure you've seen the article.
Yeah. What that means is the citizens of that state or wherever it was, the county or whatever, they were apathetic. They were not paying attention, because that's what happened here in California. Bottom line, that's what has been happening here in California. We have been an apathetic state. I've only been here since 2003, but generations before, we of Californians just paid our taxes, went and voted DOR or R, whatever, and just incrementally the government has just been grabbing more power for themselves.
Is it too late? We're pretty deep in, huh?
We are very freaking deep in.
Especially cities like LA and San Francisco. It's too late, huh?
It's I will phrase it like this. It's high time that Californians retake our freedom. There's nothing that says that we cannot erase laws from the books. There's nothing saying that. Let me give you one example, and it's at the federal level. There's a congressman, his name escapes me. He put in a bill to abolish the NFA, the National Firearms Act. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Those are things that we can definitely do here at the state level. Just whatever. I don't know. Take your pick. We have freaking thousands of laws here in California that regulate virtually close to every aspect of our lives that are indeed getting in our way from being prosperous. There's no reason why we cannot reach out to, a state legislator or state senator that says, hey, Jane Schmuckatelli, this law right here is absolutely hurting Californians, like objectively hurting us. Let's get rid of it. And I would like to think that's a civil way that we can do it. I don't know what we couldn't.
No.
But it requires somebody paying attention to something that's hurting us, right? And then raising the voice, however they do it, I don't know. Social media, the news, or whatever. Well, a great example is that red tape, right? This very unfortunate situation of the wildfires that just destroyed all these homes, the ones that are right at the ocean in Malibu, right? And then the governor is like, we're going to waive let's go ahead and get rid of the red tape for this. No, and that's where somebody who is freedom-minded should jump in. No, this shouldn't be just an executive order. Senator so-and-so, put in a bill right now. Let's get rid of all that red tape that the governor just highlighted. That shouldn't be a case right now.
Yeah.
And that's how we would, just like we lost our rights incrementally, we need to restore our rights also.
Is it too late? That's the question. Is it too late? Because it's not one law. It's not two laws. It's hundreds. It's a lot of fucking laws. I mean, at this point, they control so much that literally pharmaceutical companies, chemical company. I mean, everything. Like, they're taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
Like, we're all seeing it, man. Like, I don't fucking get it, dude.
Yeah, here's a way to put it. Yes,
United States
it's too late to the people who lost their lives.
Yeah, and to the people who lost their homes.
Yeah, it's too late. Absolutely.
I'll give you the most absurd, example. Mm-hmm. United States is the only one that gets fucking Coca-Cola with corn syrup. Like, what? Like, in Europe, it's banned, and the whole world it's banned, but we get the one with fucking corn, and I don't even drink soda, but like it's just, Pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah,
you can't
advertisements.
You can't advertise.
Yeah,
you know, in America, it's every advertisement if you watch like daily TV.
On those instances, can you say that we have been doing freedom wrong? You could have an argument. You could have an argument that we've been doing freedom wrong in those particular, examples. You know, hey, we should be free to advertise these pharmaceuticals. You could probably make that argument that in those
freedom
cases,
of speech, I get that aspect, but
right,
but to
freedom of commerce,
yeah.
That's a little bit. You could say that's a little bit perverted.
You know what? And fair enough.
Yeah.
But a lot of these are not passing FDA. A lot of them haven't been around long. A lot of them have the percentage of recall from pharmaceutical prescription pills is humongous. Yeah. So their expectations. I mean, they'll murder, hundreds of thousands of Americans, and then be like, "Oops, that was a wrong dosage, or wrong this, or wrong that," and they have no consequences.
Oh, that ingredient shouldn't have been in there.
Yeah. Sorry. So exactly, my bad. Oh, it gets people addicted. That's weird. We didn't want to create that. We just wanted to, So okay, fine. Advertise whatever you want, but like, can we at least fucking see what we're giving? It's like right now. Trump was saying that we're going to put tariffs on Mexico. And if Mexico wants to do a deal with us, they better fucking control their cartel. Right, and why is that a priority? Because if you have 750,000 Americans dying from fentanyl overdoses, guess what? That's a terrorist attack against American people. Guess what? Mexico figure it out. If not, we're coming in. And I know a lot of people are like, but my friends are Mexican. This has nothing to do with that. We're talking about literally the cartel versus American citizens versus Mexican citizens. Mexican citizens are being taken advantage of
course.
Too. I mean, they're the country right next to America. They should be flourishing. Mexico has one of the best lands I've ever seen. They have two oceans. They have land. They have deserts. They have altitude. They have cities. They have everything. We're one. Or we were Mexico. Whatever. But anyways. I lost my train of thought right there. But the point is that Trump is going to get more stricter on this because that's an act of terrorist against the American citizens. And again, I think that's good. I think that's good. And if you want to do business with this, hold your part of the bargain.
Yeah. There are ways and means to restore what you can call order or whatever, or achieve goals that you have and that he has in his administration. And because the people voted him then if he feels that's the way that you can get the attention, right, of the people that are in power in other countries, hey, let's see what happens. At the very least, I think he's earned the chance. He got voted in.
Yeah.
And let's see what happens.
By a landslide and by every American citizen just about. What was it? There is
every swing state too. That was pretty. That was pretty remarkable. I think it's the first time.
What did they say? There's no blue states, only blue cities.
That's correct.
There was no blue state.
That is absolutely correct. And I want to say, looking at Kamala Harris, I don't believe that
Who's that?
That lady that was running on the other side. Did not flip any county in
and she had the biggest budget for fucking spending.
Yeah, that's freaking wild,
billions.
dude.
And she went over her fucking budget.
Wow.
And she got all of Hollywood and celebrities and everything else. I mean, she couldn't fucking
I think that was beautiful, actually. I think I really enjoyed seeing that.
And it has nothing to do with you and me. It has to do with the American population saw that, but continue that thought.
Correct.
Yeah.
No. I think that on the national level, it got bad enough that we overcame the, celebrity, what's the word I'm looking for? Worship culture, right? Well, you're a celebrity. Well, you must know what you're speaking about, right? Nah.
So fucking dumb.
Yeah. which should have never gotten to that.
Even at, you know who fucked me up? That I was, I'm not gonna say I was a fan, but I enjoyed his movies and shit. The Rock, man.
Yeah, right.
Like I enjoyed his shit, and then when he opened up his mouth, fucking 4 years ago,
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah. Like, dude, what? Come on,
dude,
man.
shut the fuck up, dude.
Yeah,
Make movies and wrestle, man. Fucking, talk about your cheat diets, your cheat meals,
Absolutely.
do that, dude. But don't don't do it with friends. Don't do it with whatever. Have your opinion. But when he came out and did that, dude, it was pretty hard to watch. And the other fucking retarded idiot, and I'm gonna say retarded idiot, fucking De Niro, man. How can De Niro do that to his fucking career, dude? That guy. I mean, so much respect for his accomplishments as a fucking actor, but to have that little outburst and insult half the fucking, and it wasn't half the country. It was more than half the country, more than half. And to spit in people's faces and be that fucking disrespectful and that nasty, unacceptable.
Once you get to that point,
it's like he was believing his own fucking roles
Correct.
that he's been playing his whole fucking life, thinking he's some fucking
what I was about to say.
mafia motherfucker, which he's never even been close to it.
Yeah.
And it's so fucking sad that he fucking...
Listen, I'm not trying to. I mean, I believe acting is it's a career as old as any other career, right? But I'm sorry, you have made your livelihood pretending to be something that you're not. I think, just like you said about The Rock, you should have just kept it at that.
Focus on your tequila. Focus on working out. That's it. Did you watch Tropic Thunder?
Yeah, absolutely.
Remember
who hasn't watched?
Remember when he goes to Ben Stiller and he goes, you went full retard.
Yeah,
you went full. You never go full retard. Rain Man, you never go full retard.
Yep.
You went full retard. Robert De Niro went full retard. Yeah, he went.
A lot of them.
Yeah,
went.
A lot of them. A lot of them.
What was weird was the ones that got paid.
Yeah.
To go full retard.
Like what? Like Beyonce? What do you mean?
Beyonce got paid. What was it?
Didn't Bad Bunny make the fucking list too?
Yeah.
He ain't Puerto Rican, man. That's
well, that
he fell into it.
That's
and the videos coming out of fucking Bad Bunny and Pete and Puff Daddy or P Diddy, whatever they fucking call him.
I seen that.
Very uncomfortable, bro.
That's very uncomfortable, very unfortunate. But a lot of what has been going on in the entertainment world,
it's all dark, man.
Yeah.
It's all coming out. Yeah. It's all coming out. Even the whole Disney thing and all that stuff. All right, let's end on this. What would you like to see in the next 5 years with gun laws, citizens, government, and what would you like to see?
What I would like to see is it's already happening. I think right along our conversation here is a lot of people's bubbles have been popped, seeing the world as it really is, as painful as the experiences have been for many of us, right? A lot of us. What I want to see is citizens that are engaged, citizens that are acting as citizens, not subjects. That's one thing that I routinely like to bring up to both my students and the people, and I put it out in the interwebs, in the social media. Hey, we need to act as citizens, not subjects. We fought a freaking war as a country against the biggest, empire of the time when we won our independence, and we were citizens back there. We have slowly but surely, adopted stuff that other places do, that where they are called subjects. They're not citizens. I think we need to restore a lot of that here in the country. But what does that take? It takes not being apathetic, paying attention to what the heck people are doing in your country, not just nationally, but locally. Pay attention to what the heck your kids are doing. If you are blessed to have children or grandchildren or nephews, nieces, whatever, pay attention to what the heck they're doing, and do not hold yourself from placing that timely seed, because it's going to take placing the right kind of seeds. And I know you're already doing it with your youngest son and your other children. I'm doing it with my kids. Whenever possible, if you are someone who has some sort of influence on young minds, whenever possible, place those seeds in the back of their head. Just whenever a situation comes up where they're asking you something, they saw something on the interwebs, they saw something on TikTok, right? They're all on TikTok, Instagram, or however it is that they're consuming news. Speak about what was your experience, whether it's when you were younger or your current experience as you're traversing the world as an adult human being here in the United States or any other country in the world, mind you. Just say, it wasn't always like this. Guess what? Oh, they're saying, climate, just to throw an idea. Oh, they're saying if we don't act in 10 years, X is going to happen.
Yeah.
Guess what? They've done it. They've done that for decades already.
It's been the same thing.
It has been the same damn thing. Plymouth Rock. Please go. You tell your kid they're avid searchers. Go ahead and look up Plymouth Rock over in the East Coast. They said that if we didn't act on global warming, which was back then, that the cities would be erased. Plymouth Rock is still in the same freaking place. Yeah. You can still see Plymouth Rock, and guess what? They have all bought, coastline properties. That's one little red pill that you can throw in their head.
I'll tell you a fun one. So my friend's house was on the ocean. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so I've celebrated a few birthdays there, and I did some drone shots. And I posted this one drone shot, which I'm going to post now because of what that's all gone, which is fucking insane. It's fucking all gone.
Horrible.
I want to take a drone shot of how it looks now and put the comparison. But I did this drone shot just off the coast, and the fucking waves are hitting the floors of the houses. It was.
Yeah, it was.
It's really fucking hitting me. It was beautiful, man. Anyways, I posted this video up, and it's just a drone shot of these beautiful houses in Malibu. That video blew up, and it was the biggest fight, and the many people lost their fucking mind. And I was like, what is going on? It was like, you have 100 and something comments. I'm like, what the fuck? And it was like posted only a few hours. Mm-hmm. First comment. These houses have been there since 1950, 1940s, 1930s, and look, the fucking ocean has not raised, not even one bit. No, global warming's fucking real, but it's yep. No, you shut the fuck up, you fucking It turned into such just a beautiful shot to that I was like, whoa.
That wasn't even what you meant.
That wasn't even what I meant. I was like, look at how cool this shot is,
Yep. But it has to give you hope, right? That not everybody is.
No,
asleep in the Matrix.
Yeah, well, but I know who was who on those conversations, and I knew who was out of the Matrix and who wasn't.
Yeah.
But my point is it's so fucking silly, that this planet's been here for 4 billion years. We've been around for maybe 200,000 years, and now there's supposedly no agenda of global warming. Like, guys, the same patterns of weather have been the same for hundreds, for thousands of fucking years.
Yes.
And the people making the fight for this are the ones failing us for this. So wait a minute. They could be bought? No. They can get bought?
Everybody has a price?
What are you saying? Cut it out. But anyways, man, it's a shit show. Anything you want to add? Anything we forgot we didn't touch bases on? Anything you want to cover?
No. I've already spoke my piece. Just keep on trucking. We can return to what we call freedom here in the United States. It just means that we become engaged again.
We're so disengaged right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Speak with your neighbors, speak with your kids, have uncomfortable conversations. Like I said, before, if you don't do politics, politics is doing you.
Yeah.
So,
I know this is impossible to fucking answer, but I go right now in my neighborhood and I pull out 100 people and I put 3 different guns for each one, 3 different magazines, 3 different calibers. Out of 100 people right here in this area, this studio, how many people? This is random. This is just for fun. There's no way of proving this.
Yeah, go ahead.
What percentage of people do you think would be able to get the right magazine and the right caliber and the right gun, load the bullets, put in their magazine, and put one in the chamber?
Probably less than 10%. I'm probably being. Yeah. Well, I mean, the neighborhood has something to do with it, but I'm gonna give you a funnier one. Okay.
I always get my phone 1234. I always. That's why it's the last 4 digits of my phone number. That's why it's funny. The main address. I always get 1234. Yeah. You only see that set 14 times a week.
And you always notice it.
Always. Mire, right now 1234. Look at this. Oh, look at that. Look, the other day I took a picture. On Sunday, 1, 2, 3. I always catch 1, 2, 3, 4. Always.
That's funny.
But I'm sorry, I totally.
I'm gonna give you a funnier one. Okay, you don't even know to have actual guns. Print out 3 pictures of guns. 2 of them fake ones, like from Starship Troopers,
right?
From Star Wars. Okay. And a real gun,
right?
And then present them to all the same people,
right?
And just ask them, which one do you think we should ban?
Oh yeah. They'll probably pick out the Star Trooper or Star Wars. They'll probably do Star Wars because it's the most recognizable. And
they'll probably pick out, oh my gosh, that one looks so scary.
Yeah.
No, nobody should own that one.
Here, I'm gonna try this. I've never done this. All right, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How can I help you today?
Perfect. I'm here with my good friend Osvaldo. He's a gun advocate and a trainer and a firearms instructor, et cetera. And we're closing up this podcast right now, but we wanted to get some ridiculously silly facts on guns, like people that don't know how to use guns, what's the percentage in Los Angeles and California, or stuff like how many people have never shot a gun or know the laws of a gun. Just interesting, fun facts. What can you give us that are facts about guns in California?
I can help with some general information about gun ownership and usage. But please keep in mind that specific statistics can vary. Here are a few general facts. About 30% of American adults say they own a gun, and around 40% live in a household with a gun. In California, about 20 to 25% of residents own a firearm, which is lower than the national average. Roughly 60% of gun owners in the U.S. say they own a gun for personal protection. Many people have never fired a gun. Estimates vary, but surveys suggest around half of Americans have never shot a firearm.
Interesting.
Would you like more details on any of these?
But pull out a few more other random facts that would be interesting to know.
Sure thing. Here are a few more interesting facts. California has some of the strictest gun laws in the U.S.,
obviously,
including background checks for all gun sales and transfers. The AR-15 is one of the most popular rifles in America, with millions in circulation. In the U.S., the majority of gun owners, about 2/3, own more than one firearm. California also has a red flag law, allowing family members and law enforcement to petition for the temporary removal of firearms from individuals deemed a risk to themselves or others. Any of these catch your interest?
On the red flag laws, do you think it's aligned with the constitutions of the United States? Okay, let's ask the question one more time. So you're there, right? Can you hear us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I'm with my guest Osvaldo, where we were talking about gun controls. He had a question right now.
Yes, can you please tell me what is your assessment? Are red flag laws in proper alignment with the United States Constitution?
Red flag laws also known as Extreme Risk Protection Orders, ERPOs, allow for the temporary removal of firearms from individuals deemed to be a danger to themselves or others. These laws have been contested on constitutional grounds, particularly concerning due process and Second Amendment rights. Supporters argue they are a necessary tool for preventing harm, while critics are concerned about potential abuse and the need for strict legal safeguards. Courts have generally upheld these laws, finding they can align with the Constitution if they include robust due process protections. Is there anything else you'd like to know?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, and then we're closing out this episode. We pretty much talked about a lot of gun laws and the fires and everything else. Any fun fact that we should close this podcast on?
Certainly. Did you know that the Glock pistol, one of the most popular firearms worldwide, was designed by an Austrian engineer who had no prior experience in gun design? It became a favorite for law enforcement due to its reliability and ease of use. Is there anything else you'd like to add for your podcast?
Anything else, sir?
That was Gaston Glock. That was, one of the most amazing. He changed the landscape in firearm ownership and handgun ownership for the world. That was Gaston Glock. By the way, I believe his late wife's still involved with it, or daughter. There's a woman with the last name Glock,
right?
Huh?
It was in the 70s, right?
There's a woman with the last name Glock that's still in charge of that company.
Yeah.
Yep. Man, it's been amazing. Thank you for having me.
I told you anytime, man.
I really appreciate you. I want to tell people this right here. This is body armor. It is your right to own this. This is a passive way to protect yourself against somebody who's trying to shoot you or stab you. Do not let any politician say that because you own this must mean that you are trying to do something bad. You have the right to own armor. Armor is part of arms, weapons of offense, or armor of defense. The founders understood this to be part of the arms that you are able to own, that you have a right to own. So please pay attention to what your politicians in your neighborhood and nationally are doing. It is your right as a citizen, and it is only upon you to exercise your rights. A right that you do not exercise is a right that you do not have. That's what I would like to close with.
Thank you, brother. Always good having you. And like I told you, anytime, any fucking time you come here, we talk more.
Thank you, sir.
Plenty
Thank
of
you
stuff
for
to
having
talk
me.
about. Autography.
Yep.